That will move into unfinished business. The first item is consideration for approval of the recommended 2014-2015 school calendar.
Open this up. So last month we had presented this calendar to you, which is very similar to the school calendar that we do have this year. We begin after Labor Day, the 2nd of September, and students will be ending on June 10th. There again is a full 2 weeks off at Christmas time. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is off. We do have Martin Luther King Day off. There's a good week at Easter time. But it's very similar. One of the things that we did do was we noted that October was pretty chopped up this month, or this year. So we did rearrange that, so we did not have as many short weeks in the month of October as we did this year. This was on the website for people to view, and I did check with Mr. Potter, and he indicated that since this was posted, I believe on October 23rd, we had over 38,000 hits on the main web page. So people opening up the web page. Now, we don't know if they specifically looked at, opened up that particular link, but even if only 1% of that did, that's still about 400 people that would have looked at that. If 10% of the people did, we're looking at about 3,800. I don't have any way of knowing how many people actually examined the calendar. That is something that Mr. Potter is going to be making a change on, so that we can document how many people actually open up each of those particular articles. And then we did receive, and I shared that with you, just one comment where, again, there's a community member who thinks that we go too late into June. But that is the only written feedback that I received on the calendar.
Who's on the calendar committee?
I am.
Judy, Jan? Okay. Any insight or?
Going later into June, again, we're trying to shorten the amount of summer slide. So instead of having 3 full months off, we're hoping that will help the students when they come back in the fall. So I know for some they don't like having to go 2 weeks into June, but I think overall it helps the students not to have such a long break. Summer school covers in between there, but not all students take summer school classes.
Okay. Yeah, that was the primary concern again in the email is cutting into family time. We didn't hear a lot of other reports about that, and I guess we have been discussing the philosophy of having a flexible calendar with a more continuous school year, same amount of essentially vacation time, just distributed a little more evenly.
They are getting more time at Christmas. They're getting a nicer spring break. Even Thanksgiving, having that extra day. There are times that they can do things with the family, even during the school year, then that allows for more time.
And then there is the question too on graduation. So I did also provide you with some additional information. On the calendar that we presented, we do have graduation being Friday, June 6th, or Saturday, June 6th. And that would be, again, the state track meet as well as soccer regional competition. And so I do have the graduation dates of area school districts. I know you're often interested in what other school districts are doing, and you can see that many of them are doing it on Memorial Day weekend, that's Saturday. And there are a number, Mauston and Black River always do it on a Sunday. So the weekend does vary, but they do it on a Sunday to prevent the conflict with any sporting events. So I don't know if you feel like we should consider changing that date and going to, again, our first year that we went on a Saturday, we did do Memorial Day weekend, and that did work fine. But again, going longer with the calendar, then our seniors would be out, a good 3 weeks before the end of the school year.
You hadn't checked on the other schools when their calendar is ending? Maybe know yet.
I do not have their last day of school.
It just seems odd that they would have their graduation, flued in on Memorial Day and then go that much longer too.
I think most of them are probably ending that first weekend of June. So we may be going about 3 days longer into that second week. The other option is to do it on a Sunday rather than doing it on a Saturday. And we could certainly talk to the Ministerial Association to see if they have concerns with that. That would allow us to
I think families may not like that as well, just because, again, it's travel time. If you have it on a Saturday, they can travel the night before or the morning, and then still have Saturday to have the celebration and travel back on Sunday. If you move it all to Sunday, then it's traveling back Sunday night and working the next day.
But if we did it on a Sunday, it wouldn't interfere with the athletic events, because that's always been a big concern with everybody.
That's the state level?
It's regionals for soccer, from what I understand, but at the track it is the state competition.
So it's a handful.
Yes.
That have had to choose between that and graduation. And Memorial Weekend is the the Saturday before that?
Yes.
Is that right?
It would be the 23rd.
The 23rd?
Saturday the 23rd?
That would, must be another,
No.
that's wrong.
That's 2
'cause
weeks.
That's 2 weeks, because June 6th, that's why I'm wondering if there's
Yeah,
it'd
June
be
6th.
it'd be May 30th would be the
I have
31st.
down that May.
No, it would be Monday, May 25th
is
would be Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Because Saturday would
Is
be
that
the
wrong?
30th, Sunday would be the 31st.
But why, we don't need to have it on Memorial Day. It could be the Saturday after that, the
Right.
29th.
If you're looking at...
Was there
that's
something scheduled on the 20th?
Scheduled on the 30th? Oh, I don't believe so. No.
So there's no competition on the 30th of May?
No, from what I understood from the information I got, the track meet was going to be June 6th this year.
So if you had graduation on the 30th, it would be in between, it would be after Memorial Day weekend, and then,
Right. Yes, you could do the 30th.
So then the seniors just go, they're out 2 weeks.
which
Right, you bet.
seniors in the state of Wisconsin we deem when they're ready to graduate. So, I mean, we can, even if they're out a little bit earlier, that's not
I'm going to
major
just
concern.
double check quick in WIA their schedule of events to make sure we get it right.
I don't know how they do the regional track.
We can always set the graduation date for next next month, if you, we can do some more checking on that. I'm sorry.
What questions do you have?
Well, I guess I kind of have the same concerns with going so late. I mean, I really like the idea of a shorter session for the kids to be off totally from school, and I wish, ideally, I'd like the kids to start middle to early August, just like we've been talking. And then the problem I always have with the kids going so much later is I think that they hit that middle of May, and the weather finally starts to get good in Wisconsin, and I think you lose them. I just think, especially the younger kids, just with the weather, and they just are ready to be outside and done for a while. It's difficult. I mean, it's a real difficult trade-off, I think, between... I really understand wanting to keep the kids in a shorter time span off in the summer, because I think that is important. But I think those last few weeks sometimes can get very distracted for the kids. So I'm not sure what the fix is, January this year turned out a little jumbled too because of I like the 2 weeks off at Christmas that it turns out this next 14, 15, because I think that's a nice break for the kids. But January gets a little disruptive. That's probably our problem month, like October was this year. Yeah. So, and those are going to happen just because of how things fall. So I'm not sure what else we could do to alleviate it.
You take away a couple days from the spring break. You take away Martin Luther King Day, and that's your 3 days. So then you are done on Friday the 5th.
Yeah.
Because the last day is the 10th of June. There's 3 days, so somewhere you take back 3 days, or you take back the Wednesday of Thanksgiving break.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you need this approved tonight, or?
We really should have a calendar approved if we're going to, Mr. Curran's kind of getting anxious because they need to be planning next year's sporting events. And he tentatively has schedules. Those are, when we talk about trying to find referees and all of that type of stuff, it's important that we get this.
Well, and certainly we didn't have, as Mrs. Sardi, as you said in your email, we didn't have a lot of families complaining. So I certainly have to take that with a grain of salt too. That
sectionals are Friday the 30th for track.
Okay. Not on the weekend.
But not on the weekend.
Yeah. Oh, so it's not Saturday, right? So sectionals are Friday, so Saturday would be...
So they'd be
Saturday
Friday the 20th.
This isn't right, though, because this has sectionals Friday, May 30th for the two.
That's,
For 14, you're looking for 15, right?
yeah, it'd be
that'd be
for
the
15.
30th is a Saturday.
No, it's for 14. No, wait.
Nope, in
15.
15.
You're right, okay, I'm sorry. I don't know where that is.
So the 20,
They may not. But if it's on a Friday, then
and
it'll
it's
probably
next
be
year,
Friday.
it should be the following year, it should be on a Friday. So
That helps.
So graduation could be May 30th.
Do you want time to look at the graduation date?
I would like to make sure, I guess I want to touch base with Mr. Curran and see what events are taking place on those weekends, just to make sure we've got accurate information, so that when you set the calendar, you know for sure.
For the graduation date.
Just the graduation date. So if we held on that, I'd feel most comfortable, and we can finalize that next month. That's critical.
But you'd still like us to go forward with the calendar as presented. And I can appreciate the concerns you have, Mrs. Buswell. Other people have brought that issue up about a certain time when you reach late May. But it also might be a psychological thing. It might be when the end date is here, you start thinking about it here, or you push it back, and then they don't start thinking about it until a little bit later. Our flexible calendar year committee is still discussing some of these things.
And hopefully, that would be my hope, that at some point that does get to change and shift. And I think that would be the ultimate,
If
the
we could go
best.
earlier.
Yes, start earlier in August. That would be the best scenario, I think, for the students. I really do.
Yeah, they're ready to come back at the beginning of August.
They are. I mean, that's just the way it is.
And there's movement on that.
The superintendents,
That end of things.
yes, the superintendents in this area are working. We're trying to create a common calendar and then going to our legislators to see if we can receive a waiver to the state law for our region of the state. So that's the process that we're using at this point.
Okay.
Right, and I can appreciate too with the concern that the parent had, because especially at the high school level, you do have the sporting practices, band starts in August, so, their summer is shortened a bit compared to the elementary and middle school. But
And that's
that
another...
would be a nice reason.
Yes, it's another reason, yes, to be able to start earlier because so many kids are back.
And I just got to add to that, it may be the perception that people just think we're going so long, but I think I just use my own kids as an example. When June 1st rolls around, they're not thinking about what's coming up next in education. They're thinking about jobs they might be going to work to. They're thinking about what they're going to do for summer breaks. So although that might be a perception, I think the perception is a pretty big reality. And I think a lot of folks would acknowledge that the last 2 weeks of school is very difficult to teach kids just simply because of that perception. And I don't think that's going to change very easily. So I think the approach of trying to start school earlier is a better approach because everybody looks forward to the end regardless of what you're doing or what it is. So I think that's going to go away. Because certainly, what are we now on, 10 or 12 or 15 years of starting on September 1st start dates and late calendars?
And this school year will be the one that we'll get a feel for what it'll be like to have the longer Christmas break and other breaks that we haven't had in other calendars. So after this year, we'll have a better feel for it, but we have to approve the calendar now, so that's not going to help us, I guess,
Right.
for this one.
All right. That all in mind, I'd look for a motion to approve the calendar as presented with the exception then of the graduation date.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2014-2015 school calendar as presented. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and that 14-15 calendar is approved with the exception of the graduation date.